In a moment of sheer desperation, an elf mother shoves her young daughter Arwyn into a dark closet. She whispers a deceptive lie, ordering her to stay completely silent, no matter what terrifying noises she hears, because they are simply playing a game of hide-and-seek. Outside, heavy and thunderous thuds begin violently shaking the fragile wooden walls of their quiet home. Arwyn whispers to her mother about the terrifying sounds just outside the door. The mother forces a gentle, reassuring smile through her overwhelming terror, raising a trembling finger to her lips. She makes a heartbreaking promise, instructing her daughter to stay hidden until she hears the safe words, "It's okay." A bang shakes the house, making her violently flinch in fear. Peering through the crack in the closet door, Arwyn softly calls out for her mama in the pitch-black darkness. Her mother's final instruction echoes faintly inside her innocent mind. The next panel reveals the horrifying, tragic reality. Her mother lies brutally slain on the floor, while a hulking, masked intruder triumphantly stands over her body, clutching a blood-dripping blade. The sadistic intruder sniffs the damp air, instantly detecting the little girl's terrified scent. His monstrous face contorts into a sick, wide, leering grin. He violently shoves the wooden closet door open, finally trapping Arwyn inside the cramped, small space. As his massive, armored hand reaches out to grab her, she lets out a choked, helpless gasp of absolute, pure terror. Just as the grotesque creature threatens to grab her, a massive slam echoes loudly as a young hero violently smashes the assassin to the ground. He ruthlessly crushes its skull with a single blow before turning around. The trembling girl, tightly clutching her stuffed toy, asks in sheer confusion who this sudden, brave savior actually is, the one who saved her. The brave, heroic boy introduces himself as her sudden rescuer, looking at her with gentle concern. Arwyn immediately asks about her mother, prompting a pained, sorrowful pause from him. Realizing they are in extreme, immediate danger, he sadly insists they must escape to their own safety right now. He carefully lifts her, swiftly kicking away another approaching assailant. Surrounded by a horde of multiple monstrous enemies, Haten calmly tells Arwyn to close her eyes and slowly count to 10 inside her head. He draws his sharp blade and declares the ruthless combat has officially begun. In a blurred, dynamic flurry of motion, he ruthlessly slashes through the first horrific monster, shouting out the number 1 as it falls to the ground. The boy continues his violent rampage against the monstrous horde with breathtaking speed. He leaps dynamically through the air, counting loudly as he decapitates and slashes through the grotesque creatures without ever pausing. With incredible precision and agility, he dispatches each ugly creature, shouting out 8, 9, and finally, a decisive 10. The two of them finally escaped the ruined village and walked peacefully through the quiet, sunlit forest. Haten reassures Arwyn they will safely reach a small nearby town very soon. They pause briefly to rest near a gently flowing stream. Beneath the shade, he eventually introduces himself as Haten, and kindly asks her name. She quietly replies that her name is Arwyn. Noticing the little girl is likely quite hungry, Haten points out some ripe Nashil fruit hanging from the large branches above. He picks one and kindly offers it to her, explaining that the textured skin is actually quite tasty. The cautious, grieving girl looks up at his gentle, warm smile, hesitantly reaching out to accept the strange, unfamiliar, unknown food. Arwyn takes a small, hesitant bite of the strange fruit, but the simple comfort immediately destroys her fragile, emotional composure. Large tears quickly well up in her eyes and begin streaming down her rosy cheeks. She softly, heartbreakingly chokes out the word, "Mama." Haten's expression turns incredibly sad and empathetic as he silently watches her deep grief take over. As the cold night falls upon the quiet, dark forest, the pair sits together comfortably by a crackling small campfire. Haten gently pokes the glowing embers with a large stick, while Arwyn remains wrapped tightly in a thick, warm blanket. She stares at him with a quiet, hollow, exhausted gaze. The silent, heavy silence between them is thick with unspoken sorrow and deep grief. A warm, bittersweet flashback suddenly shows the happy mother happily setting the dinner table. She playfully scolds young Arwyn for starting to eat without waiting for her. Young Arwyn smiles brightly, happily claiming the food is incredibly tasty. The scene suddenly snaps sharply back to the present, where the sleeping girl mumbles her mother's name in her dream. At the break of dawn, they resumed their long journey through the dense wilderness. Arwyn looks absolutely awestruck at the massive mountain range ahead, admitting she has never ventured this far before. Suddenly, a huge, terrifying bird-like creature screeches loudly in the valley below. Haten urgently grabs her hand, and they frantically flee the ruthless, deadly beast. After an exhausting long journey, they finally spot a massive, impressive, bustling fortress city waiting on the vast, distant horizon. Haten calmly tells her shortly it is their final destination. Navigating through the dense, massive, noisy crowd, Arwyn becomes absolutely overwhelmed by the overwhelming sheer size and active, lively life of the bustling town. Inside the bustling, crowded Adventurers Guild, the cheerful receptionist joyfully welcomes back Haten and immediately asks for his mission report. He grimly reveals that over 50 dangerous bandits attacked the villagers, and Arwyn is the sole traumatized survivor. He urgently insists they must immediately switch the guild's focus to a brutal extermination mission. Haten quickly asks the kind and friendly receptionist to look after little Arwyn for him. He explicitly refuses to rest or sleep, insisting he needs to begin the extremely dangerous quest immediately. Giving a gentle, affectionate, final pat to the little girl's head, he quietly says his last goodbyes and turns to leave the guild hall without any further delay. As Haten forcefully attempts to walk away, Arwyn fiercely grabs onto his shirt and screams a loud, tearful no. Her tiny, small body violently trembles with immense anguish and desperation as she sobs that she absolutely does not want him to leave. The worried receptionist watches constantly nearby, noting how incredibly upset the poor little girl has become. Arwyn desperately chases after Haten through the bustling, wide, crowded street, loudly calling out his name. Stopped completely in his own tracks, he silently turns to face her. She asks with desperate, teary, terrified eyes if he will actually come back to her. He pauses, turns, and offers a warm, gentle, reassuring smile, sincerely promising that he will absolutely return. Haten confidently turns around and walks away, his back slowly disappearing into the bustling crowd. Arwyn stands completely still at the guild entrance, clutching her little stuffed toy tightly against her chest. Her wide eyes follow his silhouette until he completely vanishes. A heavy silence falls over her as she holds on to his promise, praying for his eventual safe return.